recording. There we go. So yeah, obviously, hello everyone, my name is Tops. I'm gonna be talking a little bit over the market and what my plays, trades, potential, and what I'm looking for basically in the next weeks or months of price action. Obviously, we're gonna go over the macro view. Let me make the songs a little bit quieter. So yeah, let's get a fresh chart in. Let's go here. I'm gonna delete everything and start from scratch. Let's go over SPX first. Obviously, there's nothing here to really talk about much. It's really close to all-time highs. There's a weekly swing here that's probably about to test. I don't see any resistance or other than that's possibly gonna test. So I still see some wiggle room for more upside. Let's see how much is the move. Yeah, so 0.34 until that weekly level. So it could do like a double top potentially, but even if it does a double top, it could just do a higher low and push higher. So overall structure on the SPX is nothing to be really bearish about, but we've seen Bitcoin retrace a bit even when SPX is not dumping. Like if you look at Bitcoin from here, let's do split screen here. If you put SPX on the right screen, Bitcoin on the left, if you put here while we were topping, SPX was just ranging. So SPX doesn't need to do like a big volatile move towards downside for Bitcoin to start dumping. So, but yeah, of course, if it hits resistance and it starts dumping a lot, of course that will influence Bitcoin to go even more to downside. But yeah, let's go back to SPX. So we have a weekly there. Other than that, we just have like a previous all-time high level here, and that's pretty much it. Let's mark a few local levels here, weekly on here. Let's see. Yeah, this is pretty much the same price action. This is pretty much same price. Level here. Level here. Let's see if we see a few more on monthly here. Let's do that. Let's mark it out, everything. And the bottom one is monthly. So realistically, when you see V-shaped reversals like this is a pretty strong bounce. If you also look at the monthly, this was basically the higher low. How I look at the structure is, this was the high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and now this was the higher low. Some people interpreted this as a higher low, but when I look at structure, I like to see like few candles, like a clear move like this, for me to count it as a higher low or a move like a structure move. So I didn't really count this as a higher low because it's only a wick, like it recovered. It looked like just like this whole move was just a big ass higher high. So if I look at the monthly structure, let's go back here. Higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, so upside. So monthly structure looks good. Weekly as well looked pretty good until it lost it here. Then we had a big dump, and after we dropped a bit, collected some liquidity from all the way here, we shape reversal. So there's no real reason to be bearish here on SPX. As well, there were some like negative news, like war news and stuff, which might affect the price action. But how I look at it, I don't really care about news. I don't really care about what's happening outside of the TA. Why? Because if you think about it, the people who have billions, trillions of money, do you think they are gonna have that information about war and everything? Are they gonna have that information before you or after you? So why are you gonna trade and influence your trading style based on news if it's 90% of the time it's already probably priced in the chart? Well, chart, everyone looks at it real time. No one can really front run the chart. Everyone looks at the chart real time. So what I really emphasize is just to double down on TA rather than mix a little bit of fundamentals, wars, like having all of the news plays and stuff. Just look at the pure TA and trust your edge and setup, and that's what you should do. So SPX reality looks bullish again. Nothing to be really like, I don't know, really bearish about, but like we can see here, clear point of interest where it could reject either for higher low, or if it breaks structure, then it's gonna be looking really bad, especially if it loses especially if it loses its daily structure, because then this weekly V-shaped reversal can turn just into a big lower high. Then you have a problem. Then you're looking for it to even lose here, but that's like a worst case scenario. In reality, what's probably gonna happen if it creates a lower high here, it's just gonna bottom around here, then go back to upside. That's what I think it will do, but I think it will provide a nice little dump. Why? Because in reality there's a lot of shit happening in the world, and if it dumped here, I think a lot of people will be scared to buy. It's pretty much same thing what happened here. They will be scared of another World War III, and well, they would be scared and selling. Probably a lot of smart money would actually be buying around these levels here for a potential higher low. So yeah, that's my thoughts about an SPX. Nothing really to be bearish about, other than these two levels, previous all-time high, weekly swing. That's the places where you're expecting rejections from. But ultimately, you're looking for the structure to hold and just print a higher low in. Let's go now to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a little bit more interesting. Let's go mark out the levels. Here's the monthly. There's two levels here, and I'm gonna mark it in the box. And this monthly here. So let's template it up. Mark them levels so we know on lower time frame. Other than that, I'm not gonna mark all those at the bottom because it's not really relevant to the price at the moment. Let's go to weekly. Weekly, we have this tested level here, which has been tested like 2 times. We also have few significant levels here, but I'm not gonna mark it because I already have it with this blue box. We also have this one at 86k, which was also range highs while we were bottoming around here. This was the range highs. That's pretty much it, and if weekly closes like this around this price, this is gonna become level 2. Also, I'm gonna have this one here for a little bit preciser price. Why this one is pretty important, because this was a pretty much lower high test after this all-time high push that went on for a dump. So, but yeah, let's look at it. Let's look at it a little bit more locally. But from the points, what we can get from this weekly chart here is that they already cleared all of the levels here. They already taken the liquidity from these 2 levels. They probably even taken, yeah, liquidity from this level. Like most of the levels for support have been tested already. And if it's gonna bounce, it should bounce from here. If it's gonna retest it again, I really doubt this level will hold again. Also, another level I forgot to mention is previous all-time high. what I was talking about in my last video was how I think we're just in a big range, which could potentially still be in play. Range, let me just mark it out. This is previous all-time high, so I'm gonna put previous all-time high. So I'm gonna mark a big blue box here from the monthly to previous all-time highs. And what do we see here? Up until this range broke down, this was like pretty okay. For me, it looked like the range lows were getting respected here, and here it was a slight deviation, but eventually, like, you can see that it was holding pretty well. But now, on this Saturday, it broke down and created weekend lows. Why do I hate weekend lows? Let me pull up the data again. Here, I'm gonna put it on the screen. This is ChatGPT. Everyone can use this. It's just asked to pull data on weekend lows and how long does it take to break down, and are they good, are they bad, are they most of the time bullish or bearish. You can just play around with ChatGPT, like, or you can just manually backtest and see when weekend lows happened. How does it affect the future price action? If you see, when I asked ChatGPT about the weekend lows, weekend low broken on Monday, 20%. Obviously today is, for me, it's Wednesday and it hasn't been broken down, it's still pumping. Weekend low broken within the week, 70%, which is very interesting. And weekend low broken and swept, stop hunt and reclaim. What does it mean by stop hunt and reclaim? It means if it goes back below, takes like the wick and then climbs up and goes. So basically taking all of the liquidity here, then building structure and then going to the same direction again. 40 to 50%. So why does this play in a big factor? So if you combine all of the data and the chart, it's pretty bearish, right? Because if you look at the chart here, it would have been a lot better if we were just holding over the weekend here. Why? Because it would just be testing the weekend, like the range lows, and if it held, it wouldn't have created like a big weekend low like it did. And yeah, basically it would have respected the range lows, and then I would be aiming for it to test range highs instead. What instead it did, it deviated below the range. It deviated below the range, and now it's pushing above. And what I feel like is people are now that they see that they saw strength over the weekend, I feel that like they're just FOMOing, and it hasn't given a healthy pullback even to long from here. So why would you be knife catching the top around here on the mid range, like exactly here? There's no really point. I would rather be short than long from here. And if I'm not gonna short because the higher time frame structure is bullish, I'm just gonna be sidelined, because in reality you don't have to be in a trade every day. If you just wait for a perfect setup, if you do 7-8% a month on your profits, compounding that over multiple years, you're gonna be having like a lot of money if you're starting with a significant amount of your bankroll, like 10 to 15k. If you start and just keep compounding 7, 8, even 15%, if you're a really good a trader, if you just do that compound over the years, you're gonna have a lot of money. So you shouldn't be really rushing if you don't want to trade the circumstances that are happening right now. You shouldn't be trading them. But yeah, why am I short on Sol, and why am I overall bearish? First of all, I showed at the top the weekend lows that are not really the most respected 90% of the time. If you look at the daily structure, we can also see that it's just forming lower highs. After they create a low, you can see here, low created, does a lower high. Low created, does a lower high. Here it broke structure, But if you look at the big picture, it did another lower high from here. Lower high, and here it would be a perfect place for a lower high. Why? Mid-range, resistance, deviate the people who have missed this dip to buy, and just provide a healthy retest to like 95k area, and that's where you expect like a real bounce from. So yeah, it would be a perfect place for a lower high. Take out the liquidity over here. Even do like an exhausted low. I call these exhausted lows. Basically, when you pull a trend line from, when you see them make lower lows, but they're not like major lows, they're just doing slight lows. You can use a trend line, pull them from one another, and if it does another low like this, I call these like exhausted lows. It's pretty similar price action to what happened here. If you pull the trend line from this one to this one, you can see that it was just doing exhausted lows. First low, small low, another exhausted low, then we flipped the trend, retested, and then we pumped. This is the exact same thing that it can happen today. Deviate the people inside the mid-range, make people FOMO long here, because if you look at the 4 hour, an hour, it's not giving any places to really be longing from. So what I think will happen is deal with the people here inside the mid-range, do another exhausted low, maybe touch this monthly, these two levels, so something like this. You along the structure shift on top of the blue box, and then you target weekly, monthly, and then previous all-time high. And of course, if previous all-time high is regained, then new all-time highs. So another thing I want to discuss is some alts. I'm gonna be discussing Solana majorly and why I'm short in it, because I'm in a position on it myself. Why am I short on it, and why am I not shorting Bitcoin, and why am I shorting Sol instead? So let's go to Solana. Let's go over major levels. Let's go first at 3 months. We can see a level here. Sorry. Yeah. To be fair, it's not really the best place right now to short, because in reality, it's a good place to short, but it doesn't mean you should pull the trigger right away, is what I'm trying to say. Because in reality, the price like this could go to infinity. But if you want to be a little bit patient, this is all liquidity. This is all just building liquidity for later on. You can wait for a big spike to take like major liquidity, maybe here, big spike. You see lower time frame structure breakdown. Wait for lower high, and then you short for them to take all this liquidity here, because all of this is just looks like it's just building for a bigger move for later on. So yeah, right now it could be some sort of a little bit like a knife catch, but I still think it's a good POI, and there's no real reason to not short here, in my opinion, or be sidelined at least. I don't really see why you should be longing from this price, or even if it gives like a slight bounce. But yeah, let's go back to Sol. Let's not go off topic too much. Let's go to 3 months first. We have this level in 3 months. I'm not gonna mark all these at the top because they're not really relevant to the price at the moment. Let's go to monthly. We have this untested one here, which was actually front ran for a bit, maybe tapped on some other exchanges. Let's check that. Let's check on Bybit. Interesting, it didn't tag on Bybit too. Sometimes when you see it front ran like this, like really close, you can check on other exchanges and if it tagged on them for extra confluence. because some exchanges might front trend, some might tag the exact same level. So that's a pretty valuable thing you can use, because sometimes you might think, oh, this is not tagged, so next time it bounces from it, it's gonna give a good reaction, but in reality it was tagged on the other exchanges, so it might not provide the same liquidity as it would if it wasn't tagged on all of the exchanges. But yeah, let's go to monthly. Probably like a significant level will be here as well, because we can see after this level was gained, it led to the push to like $300. And that's pretty much it. I think I want to mark on monthly. I don't want to have too much levels. I want to have the most significant ones. Let's go to weekly. It's a little bit more interesting here. So first we have a level here, weekly swing. We have the top here, pretty much the lower high, and we also have a block here, two swing levels combined, and this swing level led from 145 to 188. Now on weekly structure, how I look at it, it was just a bearish pullback in reality. If you're not biased and you're not holding Solana, and if you were just looking at it like it was a lower time frame, you will look at it like this: higher high push, higher low, higher high, lost structure here, and this was all just a big lower high push into lower. If you're not biased and if this was just a lower time frame chart, you will look at it like this. So why would you be longing on weekly bearish structure? Let's go to daily for a little bit more local price action. We can see that it front trend is a monthly level, and it retraced into this weekly order block. Why do I think this is a perfect place to short, and why do I not think it will maybe go to this weekly or even above? Why do I prefer shorting here? Why? Because first, if you look at the daily structure, lower high, lower high, lower high. If I short from here, yeah, I would probably have a little bit better RR because my invalidation would be tighter. But also here, I feel like it's a lot better level because there's a 3-month level and there's a weekly order block, rather than just shorting one weekly level about here. So first of all, there's more significant levels here. Why? Also, in structure, how structure looks. 90% of the time, when structure is really clean, it looks like this. It does a lower low, retraces around the 50% of the move of this, then does another push, retraces the 50% of this, and then goes lower again. I'm gonna show it a little bit cleaner like this. So what it does a lower low, lower high, approximately 50% of the move, takes the liquidity, and then it goes back to the pushing to the lower low, retraces, and then goes. So here it looks like it already did its move. Yeah, it can do a lower high here, but here it would be a lot more cleaner, and the chart look a lot more better than if it rejected from here. Another good thing which gives me a little bit more extra confidence is Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance, I don't put like actual swing levels and mark a lot of the TA on it. Why? Because 90% of the time it just respects like the noob stuff, honestly. If you look at here, this is just a regression trend that I put in my last video, from all the way from here to here, around here, and I was shorting shorting Bitcoin dominance or longing alts from here. You can pretty much get all of the receipts in the last video, and that I called the bottom on alts. But yeah, you can also see the power of taking partials. If I was greedy and waited for the bottom of the uptrend, I would have been pretty much round tripping all of my gains. So that's why I was emphasizing that you should be taking profits at the middle line. So what do we see here on Bitcoin dominance? We obviously see this regression trend and how it was well respected. We also had a daily swing here, but that's not really as important as this regression trend in my opinion. And we can also see that after it broke above, now this looks like a perfect place for like a 4-hour / daily higher low, right? Retest the top of the regression trend into push above, or even if it goes to like here, does something like this, also shit the bed if it goes to here. So why not short alts instead of Bitcoin? And you can see just by this price action that's happening right now, while Bitcoin is slowly grinding up, you can see that Solana is just not showing the same exact strength as Bitcoin. You can see Bitcoin clearly gaining strength, while Solana and other alts are not gaining as much of strength as Bitcoin. So this is why you need to be kind of studying the rotation, because here, if I was short maybe like around here on Bitcoin and I had my stop loss here, my stop loss would be already like really close to triggering. It will be already halfway there. While on Sol, if you shorted here and you had your stop loss around here, maybe above the weekly, you will be still chilling. It will be pretty much still at the entry. Why? Because you studied the rotation between Bitcoin and alts. So that's why I do think alts will probably retrace a lot. Another more coins I'm looking to maybe short. Let's look at some from here that I was looking for a bit. Obviously you shouldn't short coins like this because they clearly have a nice structure and they're really bullish other than other coins. And coins like this, TRX, beautiful chart, you should never be shorting coins like this. While on the other hand, Inch, I was pretty bullish when we were inside the range zone, and I thought we would, once we deviated here below, I thought we would reclaim the range and go above. It didn't happen. We got stopped out on that trade. We got the initial reaction here on the 4-hour, but eventually got stopped out. Now would be honestly a good place to even look for a short. Retest on the range lows, do a lower high. If it starts losing trends here, and you can see already here on the 1-hour that it's losing trends. This is how you see a trend reversal. You can see clearly pumping here, prints a high, higher low, higher high, loses it, tries to make a higher low here, loses it, and now it should be retesting here and then lower. And this is how you enter short positions. You don't enter on range lows right again, like knife catching. Because if you enter it here right away, you would be a massive drawdown from this spike. While if you just waited for the trend shift on maybe 1 hour or 15 minutes, you could have seen, oh wow, here it's respecting the trend, it's respecting the trend, respecting the trend, respecting the lows. They broke the lows, provided a retest, and then you could have shorted here. With your stop loss above the high, targeting the next levels. Which levels would it be here? Probably around here. Yeah, around there maybe. Let's see on weekly if there's any levels. Probably this order block again. Pretty similar like on Solana. Maybe there, but that one was already tested again. So in reality here, because structure on 4-hour looks okay now, it could just retrace into a higher low, and higher low would be a pretty nice place around this price. And even if it retraces here, it's already a 9RR trade. And also, if you wait for structure shift, you can also have a tighter invalidation, and that will give you a better RR. Fartcoin was actually one of my only spot backs I bought in the last few weeks. I was talking about this level for a bit. If you look at the weekly chart, I had this swing level from all the way here, and now finally it tested. But yeah, we can also see I don't think I can go back testing in this pair because this is a spread, this is like a custom pair. But yeah, that's the only few coins that provided a solid bounce. But even Fartcoin, even though it bounced, it could just be a lower high play into lower. But if it bounces from here and breaks structure, it could go for new all-time highs. Hype has been really interesting. I pretty much nailed the all-time high trade here. This is the one I was talking about in my last video. No, I'll go over ETH in a sec. So this is Hype. This is the pretty much coin I talked about in the last video, and it hit pretty much the exact trade. It hit 6 RR for the all-time high push, and it was pretty much in zero drawdown. So that's the alts I'm most interested. Let's talk a little bit more about ETH. ETH in general honestly has been a lot better than I expected. Why? Because if you compare Bitcoin dominance chart to ETH BTC, it's been performing a lot better than the rest of the alts. Well, this doesn't look really as bullish, but I will talk about that in a sec. If you look here, while Bitcoin dominance was slowly grinding up, and basically Bitcoin dominance chart is when it goes up, that means money is flowing into Bitcoin and pretty much taken out of alts. So that means alts will bleed if this chart is rising up. And you can see, well, this was slow grinding, ETH BTC was actually ranging. But now after this spike, doesn't really look as good. Why? Let's talk about that for a sec. Why I don't really like the ETH BTC chart now as much, because it lost this range where it should be holding right now. Because here, if you look, you have around here, it was range lows. And we also have here, let's actually mark levels first before we even start talking about the structure. First, we have a 3-month level here. We have another one here. And we have a few more here. Let's go to monthly, just one here. Let's go to weekly. There isn't really that much. I'm gonna mark this one, that was the range, and this one too. There's also, I think there's few more monthly levels here. Yep, here. And also I really like this one. Why do I like this one? Because if you look at the structure, this was the lower low, lower high, and after it gained this level, that's when this move happened. That's why I really like this level. So let's go over first pros, then let's go over cons. First, obviously, really nice reaction of this 3-month level here, which provided a good bounce. But now, after it provided a good bounce, it has to hold some sort of structure, and it has to show us the second leg now in reality, because It could from here, it could do again, go back down, do like a double bottom, and then grind up. It could just bait everyone into thinking ETH season is coming right now, and then later on comes. But first of all, let's talk about the pros. Obviously, really nice impulse of the monthly. There's still one monthly left below, which could be tagged if this turns into a lower high. So there's significant support here, which has to hold for me to remain bullish on ETH. Also, another pro is the thing I talked about, Bitcoin dominance. ETH has been holding a lot better than 90% of the alts, and has been holding pretty well until these past few days, where it lost the range lows here. The cons are obviously clear structure break, lower high, lower high. Now it did a lower low. Now it could do another lower high into lower, and it could just do this forever. Because in reality, if you are not biased, and if we look at just this weekly, this doesn't look good. It is a good point of interest for it to bounce, but if you look at pure weekly and monthly structure, this doesn't look good. What am I gonna say though, if ETH season really comes and it starts, and this was the bullish retest, and it starts grinding up the levels again, you need to think bigger. Trust me, on ETH, if the move happens, it's gonna be huge. Because if you look at the weekly, this is all air. You remember how I was talking about the air? If you see like this wicks, that's basically when you see it going lower but wicking above, that means this is all air, and that it's just gonna run through. So in reality, you have this weekly for resistance, you have this level here, and that's pretty much it from here. Here, it's all air. If you look at above, weekly, this is all air. I think there is some sort of a level here I have marked. Yeah, on 3 months there is a level here, but if it gains that, this is all air. So in reality, if it gains basically where it topped around here, if it starts gaining these levels again, I wouldn't be surprised if ETH BTC made new all-time highs over the long run, because there isn't any places to reject from here. There isn't any places to reject from here. So only places where you can reject from, in reality, is let me use the box. Is, I don't know why it's not from here and here. So in reality, if you want to play the safest, you can just draw out these two boxes, and if it gains this, buy load of spot here, and for you to protect yourself from rejecting here, you can sell some here, and if it starts gaining here, you can buy some here, sell some here, and if it gains this, that's where you buy big and leave a huge moon bag for all-time high sake. Because this is all air. There's no way it's not gonna reject anywhere from here. There's no way it's gonna reject anywhere from here. And if it doesn't reject from there, where is it looking from? Probably let's look at the monthly, probably like around here or around here, which is pretty much new all-time highs. And that's let's see, from this price here to here, it's a 380% gain, which is huge, which would mean let's use calculator, 2 times 4.8. I mean, the price would be, if Bitcoin stays at the same price of ETH would be 12k, which would be insane. And I think that would be the most hated rally ever, because no one wants ETH to perform. Everyone hates ETH, because to be fair, it has been shit for loads of time. That's why everyone hates ETH. But yeah, that's basically my idea on ETH. I'm not gonna talk about a lot on the USDT pair because, in my opinion, on alts, 90% of the alts, even including ETH, you should be looking more at the BTC pair rather than USDT, because in reality, while we were pumping here, from here to here, you could say that that was bullish, ETH was bullish, but in reality it was just following Bitcoin, and it was following it at a weaker strength. And if you just looked at ETH BTC, you could have seen that this was actually pretty bad. It wasn't showing, not even close, the same exact strength as Bitcoin. So why would you buy ETH when you can buy Bitcoin and kind of risk less, because it's going to be less volatile and also probably make more money because ETH BTC keeps going down. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to cover for market today. Do you guys have any questions, maybe? Something you want me to go over? Or your thoughts in general? Put in chat. Or you, Wick and Cow can also join. Maybe if you have any inputs.
Yo, yo.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Brother? Yeah. It's good.
Nice stream.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Just look at how the trend changes on the 4 hour, and it'll give you like a pretty obvious indication of what happens.
Yep. But I also think, I feel like if this was like a real move, it wasn't like a scammy move, it would give a retrace at some point. Like when we were bottoming at the 75k area, we clearly broke the 4-hour trend, and then we gave a clear retest, and that was the place where you should be longing. Here, it's just kinda gave a more of a lower high rather than a break of structure into a higher low into a push to the upside.
Completely honest, I don't have a strong opinion on that. But yeah, I mean, it's at an interesting spot. Bitcoin's at such an interesting spot. I would say if you're in any alt longs or alt bags, I would keep the stops pretty tight.
Yep.
That's kind of like how I would approach this. I mean, the trend on the short term, like 4 hour daily, is still up. So, until there's like a clear loss and a retest, that's when I would probably take the short.
Yep.
Even though you don't get the whole move, you'll still get a big chunk. Because I feel like if Bitcoin does reject here, we're still going to go see 80s. But the daily from the other day was pretty strong, so I think it's doing more of like a weekly test at this point. Yeah, but it's at the perfect spot here, or just even a little bit higher to reject.
I just don't trust the weekend lows. I never trust them.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I mean, this could test like 107,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it could also reject here. It's like it's at a really interesting spot. It took out that.
In reality, it's still holding this kind of lower high structure up until it gains 108, 800. So
if it goes sideways here, it'll probably if it goes sideways here, Alto will probably start gaining pretty hard. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, there's nothing really to go over other than that. Any of you guys in the audience have any questions? Maybe something you want me to go over? Any altcoins? Anything? No question is a stupid question. I'll answer anything. There's only stupid answers. Tia Long. Oh my god, I love Tia. This move I caught from here, it was crazy. Where did you long it from? what's your entry? 104. Damn, that's crazy. Crazy entry. Let me try to see what you saw. Because obviously there isn't any kind of like higher time frame levels. Is there any chart with more history that there's levels at the back? Or is this pretty much all time lows? Okay. Okay, okay. 104. I mean, pretty much here, to be honest, any push from here can just be a lower high. But also, I feel like at the weekly, it has to give some sort of a exhaustion pump eventually. Like, all of this again can be cleared out pretty quickly. But yet again, like, I had good thoughts about Tia for a few times and they never really gave a nice pump. But yeah, in reality, if it gives this here, around here, 2.3, that would be a good, perfect, pretty much spot to TP, as it would be like a nice lower high on weekly for lower, and you can TP like 70% of that. It's probably gonna give some sort of a rejection, and then if it reclaims, you can then add again, because then it will be probably a little more bullish, because you already tested the level. Now it climbed above, regained, and then went above. So I would be TPing probably majorly at 2.3, but up until then I would just be trailing my stop loss, honestly. Even at like hourly higher lows, I would be already putting my stop. If that was my trade, I would be already putting my stop loss low here, because if it breaks this, I feel like it's gonna take all of this anyway. And then if it takes all this, then it might as well test the range highs here. Exactly. Gray minds think alike. So basically, yeah, that's my idea of Fontia. I wish, man. Bro, I felt I was so confident about my Tia long when I longed from here 2.6 to here. I was so confident I would break structure, but I didn't. Just created a lower high. Still made some good money. Retired limitless brand. Any of you guys have any questions? If not, I'm probably gonna end the stream, upload it, so the rest of the guys can rewatch it. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I hope everyone has a great night. It's 6 AM for me. I pretty much woke up only for this. So I'm just gonna go back to bed. Everyone have a nice day or night. I hope everyone prints this week. Or if anyone tells me, I hope y'all make some money. Have a good night.